Chapter 24. Joseph rode in Imani's passenger seat, having had to ask her for a ride while his car was in the shop. Joseph asked, "So you've hung out with Emilio recently?" Imani replied, "Yeah, a couple months ago. He's an okay guy. He talked his cousin into helping me fix some shit on my car that I didn't know how to do myself and didn't want to pay for." "Nice," Joseph replied. "I wish I knew more about how to fix cars, but my dad never taught me." "That's too bad," Imani said. "It's nice to know people who can save you some money that way." Joseph asked, "Don't you make good money as a nurse?" Imani replied, "Good enough, but it's never enough, especially with these Jews stealing so much of our money." Joseph nodded. "Yeah, finding out they're so much richer than us kinda surprised me. Like, even the part of me that's still kinda sympathetic to the left looked at that and said, damn, maybe they have some kind of Jewish privilege no one told me about." Joseph still wasn't completely convinced of the Jewish conspiracy theories he'd heard, but there were a few things like that which were starting to get to him. Hanging out with Imani and listening to some of the people she listened to had affected him a lot more than anything the guys in Active Club or his church had said or done. Candace Owens still seemed a little crazy to him, but his views were a lot more compelling when they came with the possibility of a black girlfriend who thought he was just the right mix of nice guy and dangerous extremist. Imani added, "That's what I'm saying. Half the shit people blame on white people, the Jews are actually responsible for. I'm glad you're starting to stand up for our people. Weak men can't fix what's being done to society." "Yeah, hanging out with the Patriot Front guys is doing me a lot of good," Joseph said. "I don't know if I'm actually extreme enough for them. I know Zach and Josh and one of the guys who works out with us are in Proud Boys. They're only kinda racist, not as hardcore as PF, just honest about shit without being dicks about it. Well, maybe sometimes they're dicks about it, but not so black and white about, you know what I mean." Imani reached over and squeezed his arm. "As long as you keep working out, no woman wants a weak man." "Hopefully they don't kick me out for hanging out with you." A part of Joseph felt like he was hearing a truth he'd been taught to ignore. Of course women respected strength in men. Why didn't his leftist friends ever admit that? He spent some time thinking about it as they finished their drive and Imani parked in front of Emilio's place. Imani asked, "Why do you think Will did so much to find out about Secret Hitler?" "I don't know," Joseph shrugged. "A lot of the guys, they're into that conspiracy theory stuff. Maybe they think Secret Hitler is, like, a psyop or something like that, and they have to expose it so the deep state or Jews or whoever can't use it to make the far right look bad." Imani nodded. "If that's the case, hopefully we can get to the bottom of this and expose the people behind it. Ooh, if we uncover something serious, maybe Candace will talk about us on her show." Joseph smiled and chuckled a bit. The possibility of getting promoted by someone like Candace Owens worried him on some level, but he was in deep enough at this point and needed Imani's help to track William down and find out what, if anything, he had gotten off of Eli's computer. Whether that was to prove Eli was guilty or to exonerate him, whether he was going to expose some secret Jewish and or Jesuit conspiracy, or whether he was going to find out something about Secret Hitler that he could give to Ezra, he didn't know yet. He would weigh the evidence when he saw it. But he knew he had to see it to figure out for sure what God was trying to show him by putting him in this situation. Whether he exposed Secret Hitler and saved black lives, or whether he exposed the Jews and got a black white supremacist girlfriend, either way seemed to have enough going for it to justify sticking with the current plan of tracking William down and finding out what he had learned. The two of them climbed out of Imani's car and walked up to the door to Emilio's place. Joseph pushed the doorbell but didn't hear anything, so he knocked too. A minute later, the door opened and Emilio stood there looking surprised. "Imani, Joseph, right? What are you two doing here?" "Hey, Emilio," Joseph began. Imani interrupted. "Can we come in?" "Oh," Emilio looked awkwardly at them. "I don't know if this is a good time. I'm kind of in the middle of something, you know?" Joseph looked past him inside. He had a strange feeling that Emilio was hiding something, which was reinforced by Emilio shifting his position to try to block Joseph's view. But Joseph had seen it. Someone else was in there. "You got a friend over?" "Listen, Esse, I'm in the middle of some shit and—" "William?" Joseph blurted out as he went up on his tiptoes to look past Emilio and got a better view of the man sitting in his living room, who was trying to turn away and hide his face. "Is that you?" No, Emilio said, trying to get in his way, but being a little too short to keep Joseph from seeing inside. This doesn't concern you, so... Joseph pushed the door open and forcefully walked inside, causing Emilio to step back. He wasn't sure why he suddenly had the confidence to be so forceful. For much of his life, he'd been too meek to be that pushy. Perhaps it was from training with the guys, or perhaps it was from feeling like Imani was supporting him. Either way, he surprised himself a bit as he walked past Emilio into his home where William was clearly sitting in the living room. "William, what the hell, man?" William turned to face him. "Look, Joseph, this doesn't concern you." "Yeah, okay," Joseph said. "I don't care what you and Emilio have going on, but why the hell haven't you responded to me or Zach? It's been 5 days, dude. Whatever you found, we want to see it." He tried not to be too specific, since he didn't know for sure how Emilio would handle it if he knew they'd broken into Eli's computer. William stood up and stood a couple feet from Joseph, looking at him with just as much determination and a confidence that would normally have made Joseph want to back down and find a calmer way to talk things out. "You don't know what you're getting into. Or maybe you do, and I'm underestimating you. Either way, I can't trust you with what I've found, and I don't think you know who you're dealing with." Joseph stood there, realizing that there must be more to William than he'd realized, but not sure what to do about it. Meanwhile, Imani had walked into the house behind him and was glaring at William while Emilio stepped over to William's side, as if to back him up. Imani spoke up. "You made a deal and you backed out of your end of it." "Yeah," William replied, "and how do I know you're not part of it? How do I know you're not working with Eli and the people behind the murders?" "Dude, what?" Joseph replied. "Friends of mine from my church got killed. You're the one that started coming around just before they got murdered." "You joined Active Club just before they got murdered," William replied. "You and your friends, and your other friends who joined Proud Boys and started going to other far right-wing groups at the same time." Joseph was momentarily stunned, and it flashed across his face. How would William figure that out? He wasn't like Anthony, going to multiple different groups where he might have noticed. Had they been so obvious that everyone in the local far right had figured them out? William noticed his expression and added, "I'm right, aren't I?" "Maybe you're the one who doesn't know who you're dealing with," Joseph said, trying to maintain his bravado in front of Imani. "Yeah? Who are you then?" William asked. "Tell me the truth and maybe we will be able to work together." Joseph countered, "Why don't you tell me who you're with?" William shook his head. "I'm the one holding all the cards here, kid. Come on, who put you up to this? Do you even know who you're working for? What your part in all this is?" Joseph was mad that William legitimately seemed to know a lot more about what was going on than he did. Under normal circumstances, he would have backed down and tried a more diplomatic approach, but these were not normal circumstances. He had a woman to impress, he had a mystery he felt compelled to get to the bottom of, and he felt just scared enough of what William might be up to, but uncertain enough of what it might be, to feel cornered and want to lash out. So instead of backing off, he stepped closer to William. "Tell me who you're with and show me what you found." The fact that William was a little bigger and more solidly built than he was didn't get in the way as much as it should have. Emilio put a hand on Joseph's arm to hold him back. "Hey, chill out, man!" William looked smugly down at Joseph. "What do you think you're gonna do, force me to talk? Listen, kid, I don't know how you figured out where to find me, but I don't know you shit until you tell me who you're really working for." "I'm not a kid any more than you are," Joseph replied defiantly. "You made a deal and you backed out of it. Me and Zach would have helped you look through whatever files you stole and figure out what to do about it, but you decided to go rogue on us. Don't act like you're not at fault here." William replied, "You're not going to make me trust you by getting in my face." Imani almost shouted, "You broke our trust first, using us like that." Joseph felt emboldened. "You used us to get what you wanted. Tell me why and let me see what you got." William scoffed. "Or what?" Joseph pushed him. William took a step back but then lunged forward, making it look like he was going to push Joseph's chest, but then ducking down and grabbing him behind the knees, lifting and headbutting him in the stomach like they'd practiced multiple times at Active Club. Joseph lost his balance and fell back on his ass, but before William could press the advantage, Imani leapt onto his back and tried to put him in a chokehold. William stood back up and grabbed her arm as Emilio grabbed her waist, pulling her arm free from his neck so Emilio could drag her away from him while Joseph jumped back up and took a swing at William's head. William put his arm up to block it, but Joseph knocked his hand into the side of his head. William shouted, "Assaulting an officer is a fucking felony!" and then looked like he realized he'd just given away a crucial piece of information. Joseph stepped back, eyes going wide with surprise. An officer? This guy was a cop? Was he trying to infiltrate Patriot Front the same way Ezra's group was? Was that how he figured out what they were up to? And just who was he with? Local, state, or federal? What do you mean, an officer? William pulled his badge out and showed it to Joseph, who suddenly felt worry knot up his stomach. He had just assaulted a cop. Not only that, but William wasn't even a real far-right extremist and was probably infiltrating the local far-right groups for the same reason he was. He put his hands up defensively. "Okay, look, I didn't know. My bad. Sorry I pushed you. Fuck. So you're trying to stop Secret Hitler too?" "Yeah, I am," William replied. "Why don't you sit the fuck down and start talking? Tell me who you really are, who you're working for, and how the fuck you found me." "Okay, sure." Joseph slowly walked over to the couch and sat down. "If I talk, you won't press charges? Against either of us?" William sighed and stayed standing a few feet away, motioning for Imani to take a seat next to him. As Imani sat down, William replied, "Sure, as long as you tell me what I need to know and tell me truthfully." Joseph sighed in relief. He realized he'd fucked up by assaulting William, but it seemed like the only way to find out what was going on. "My name really is Joseph. I'm not hiding my identity or anything. We've both been going to the church for years. We're not lying about who we are. As for how we found you, we saw you leaving the church with Emilio, and since you hadn't responded to any of our messages in days, we decided to come ask him if he knew what you were up to. I didn't realize you'd actually be here." William exhaled sharply through his nose. "So who are you? What's the deal with your friends? Don't play dumb with me. The far right didn't get a bunch of new members in every local group on the same weekend for no reason." Joseph felt trapped. If he was honest, Imani would learn that he not only didn't really support the far right, he was actively trying to undermine and expose them. If he lied, William might arrest him, maybe even both of them. If he was already onto their group, he'd probably figure it out eventually anyway, so Joseph decided he might as well come clean. "Okay, you're right. I am part of a group that's trying to infiltrate Patriot Front, Proud Boys, Nova, and any other far-right groups we can find. We're trying to expose Secret Hitler because they're dangerous. People are getting killed. The propaganda they're spreading is changing people's minds in a dangerous way. So we're trying to find out who's responsible and expose them." Imani looked shocked. You lied to me?" Joseph didn't know how to explain it to her. "Yeah, I did, but, I mean, that was before I learned all that stuff you showed me about the Jews and what they're doing. I don't even know what to believe now." Imani looked hurt and confused, but more disappointed than angry. "I can't believe it. All those years we've known each other, and when you finally decided to let me get close to you, it was all a lie." Joseph shrugged. "What did you think this was? Did you really think some racist Nazi who thinks black people are N-words was gonna date you? Was I just some weird race play fantasy to you? Of course I'm not really a racist. I wouldn't be into you if I was." Imani looked away from them. He wasn't sure what would happen between them now, but William interrupted. "Look, I'm not interested in your relationship drama. You two can sort that out later. But whatever you do, it had better not lead to either of you telling anyone that I'm with the police. Do you understand?" Joseph looked down, not wanting to look anyone in the eye. "Yes." Imani sounded like she was trying not to start shouting or crying. "Okay." "Good. If I find out either of you sold me out, I'll arrest you both," William said sternly. "Now tell me more about this group you're with. Who organized it? Are you working for a particular agency or organization?" Joseph shook his head. "No, nothing like that. We were recruited by some ex-Proud Boy named Ezra that was looking for people on the left who were willing to infiltrate the far right and help expose them." William's entire demeanor changed. He stared coldly at Joseph for a few moments before saying, "Ezra Jacobs?" Joseph shrugged. "Yeah, why?" William pulled out his phone and showed Joseph a picture of Ezra. "This Ezra Jacobs?" Joseph nodded, wondering if he had gotten involved with something more sinister than he'd originally realized. "Yeah, that's him. What's wrong?" William asked. How much do you know about Ezra Jacobs? Not much, honestly, Joseph replied. I know he's been active in left-wing politics since he left Proud Boys, and I think he owns some little local restaurant, but not the one we meet at. William asked, Oh, where do you meet at? Joseph told him about the vegetarian restaurant. It didn't seem like an important detail, but he realized he knew something that was. I do have one piece of evidence about Secret Hitler that I think you'll be a lot more interested in, as long as you promise to let me and Imani go. William looked curious. Oh yeah? What's that? Joseph pulled his phone out and pulled up the private chat. He scrolled up to the photo Carol sent. Someone in our group was in the park where Secret Hitler put up those stickers about Zaya and got a picture of the guy putting the stickers up. William looked much more eager. Is that so? Let me see. Joseph held his phone out for William to see, but as William reached to take it, he pulled back. Just look. Can you zoom in a little? It's hard to see his face. Joseph zoomed in so William could see. We're already pretty sure we know who it is. One of the Proud Boys named Daniel looks just like him. I can see the resemblance, William admitted. Have you met Danny? Joseph shook his head and put his phone away. No, have you? No, William admitted. But one of the guys who has saw him, your priest Eli, a rabbi named Samuel Cohen, Abe from Active Club, and a couple unidentified people that we'd very much like to learn the identities of, all meeting together at a Jewish community center on Monday. You want to take a wild guess who else was there? Joseph tried to think of other possible suspects. Not Zach, Josh, or James, I hope. Don't tell me it was Robert or Bruce. No, none of them, William shook his head. I'll give you a hint. You've met him, but I haven't. Joseph's eyes went wide. Was it someone in the group? It was a he, and not someone at Active Club, so that meant DeAndre, Gary, Paul, or... Oh, shit! It wasn't Ezra, was it? It was, William confirmed. Hold on, Emilio cut in. You're saying Father Eli met with the guy who was putting up Secret Hitler stickers? And with the guy who recruited this guy to join Nazi groups and find out about Secret Hitler? He scratched his head. That doesn't make any sense at all. A lot of things about this case don't make sense yet, William admitted. You obviously didn't know Daniel was working with him. Did you know Abraham was? Joseph shook his head. No, I'd never met Abe before Active Club. William asked, What about Samuel Cohen, the rabbi? Joseph shook his head again. Not that I know of. William continued, What about Suzanne Vogel? Runs a few local daycares called Carefree Playpen. Ever meet her? Joseph shook his head. No, what's she got to do with this? She was at the meeting too, William replied. There were rumors about her being involved in some criminal activity, but for now they're just rumors. I don't know exactly what this group is up to, but it clearly has something to do with Secret Hitler since your friends caught Daniel putting up their stickers. Do you have any information on Ezra or Eli that could help us build a case against them? Joseph looked down. No, I don't. He covered his mouth with his hands for a moment. If Eli was meeting with Daniel, then that means Eli had something to do with Secret Hitler, which means... His face twisted in pain as he realized what that meant. William nodded solemnly. Yeah, that means Eli almost definitely had something to do with the murders. The room was silent for a minute before Emilio spoke. Damn, you were right. I'm glad I told you about seeing Eli and those Jews at the church when the murders happened. Imani said, You saw Eli at the church that afternoon? With some Jews? How did you know they were Jews? Emilio nodded. Yeah, I saw him there. I didn't realize they were Jews, though. I thought maybe they were bishops or some kind of church officials. They were wearing the little round hats that bishops and cardinals sometimes wear, but I guess Jews wear them too. They just call them something different. Imani looked surprised, but not as surprised or hurt by the news as Joseph. Damn, the fucking kikes really are behind everything! William let out a laugh, but Emilio looked confused, and Joseph was still too fucked up by the fact that his priest had helped murder friends at his church to find it funny. What the fuck do we even do about this? Well, for one thing, William told him, you don't tell anyone outside this room what we just talked about without talking to me first. Do you want to know why I was here today? Joseph looked at Emilio. If Emilio was a witness, I guess you must have been getting info about the case. William shook his head. No, he already told me everything he knows on Sunday after we left the church. I'm here to talk to him about going into witness protection. Oh. Joseph considered what that might mean for him. Are you going to put me into witness protection too? William shook his head. No, and we haven't decided yet if Emilio is going to need it. Don't make any sudden moves, though. Don't tell your group, and try not to act like anything is up around Ezra or Eli. Joseph asked, So I have to lie to them and, what, help you investigate Ezra and Eli? It was an interesting twist of fate. I'll handle Eli, William assured him. I don't want you to give him any more reason to suspect that you're up to something than you already have. Ezra, though, I have no way to get close to him, so anything you can do to help me with that, I'd appreciate. We're supposed to meet again Sunday afternoon, Joseph told him. I'll let you know what happens then. William seemed to take a moment to consider his options. Does anyone in the group seem like they're closer to Ezra than the others? Like they might have some idea what's going on with him? Joseph thought about it for a moment. Not as far as I can tell. Some of us knew each other before we got talked into being part of it, but I don't think any of us knew him that well. I can try to find out, though. Be careful how you do that, William said. Don't ask about it in any chat he's watching. How do you keep in touch with the group, anyway? It's some custom program Ezra had us install, Joseph said, suddenly wondering if there was more to it than just a chat program hidden in another app. Is that so? William seemed to ponder the possibilities. Would you mind coming down to the station and letting a friend of mine take a look at it? Joseph felt a knot in the pit of his stomach. I mean, I guess I could. Imani gave me a ride, so unless she wants to come along, I'll need a ride home. He looked over at Imani, wondering what she was thinking now that she'd learned the truth. Imani sighed and said, I'll drive you, that way you're not stuck there. Thanks. William stood up. Let's go. We can talk more when we get there. The other detectives on the case might have some questions for you, too. Joseph sighed. He had found William, but it hadn't turned out at all the way he'd hoped. At least William didn't seem to be mad about their fight anymore. We're cool, right? About earlier. Yeah. William gave him a pat on the arm. Don't worry about it, but keep going to Active Club if you want to do better next time you try something like that. Joseph laughed. Yeah, at least they're good for that. William turned to Emilio. I'll be in touch. Remember, no sudden moves, and don't let anyone know what you know. Emilio nodded. Sure thing, Detective. I was kind of worried when they barged in here. I'm glad you were able to work things out. Work things out? William replied. Joe just gave me the biggest lead we've gotten in this case since the one you gave me last weekend. Things are working out marvelously. Almost too well, considering how badly things were going up until last weekend. I just hope he can help me figure out what the hell is going on before his buddy Ezra figures out we're onto him. Emilio shook his hand. I'm glad I could help. I really wish it didn't seem like Father Eli was involved with the murders, but if he killed that poor girl and the choir director, I hope you can bring him to justice. Me too. William shook his hand firmly and then pulled his phone out as he walked towards the door. Why don't you two give me your numbers? I'll send you the station's address and we can keep in touch in case something comes up. Don't talk about the case by text or phone call if you can help it, though. Better to meet in person. Joseph and Imani exchanged numbers with him and then followed him outside to their cars. They sat in silence for a moment before Imani started the car and started to follow William to the station. The awkward silence lingered between them for a little bit before Joseph said, I'm sorry I lied to you. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I guess I was in way over my head and didn't even realize it. Imani huffed a few times before responding, I'm sorry I fucking believed you. I should have known you were too soft to be the kind of man I'm looking for. Joseph scoffed. Just what the hell was she looking for, anyway? Did you really think you were going to seduce some racist Nazi into finding a black girlfriend? Better than a wimpy lefty man, Imani replied. Besides, there's a lot of middle ground between pretending race doesn't exist and automatically hating everyone who's different from you. Yeah? Joseph asked. And what happens when you find a racist man who decides your race isn't good enough for him? My race isn't good enough for me, Imani replied. That's why I want a white man, so my kids can have more white in them than I do. Joseph was stunned. He had no idea what to say to that. I'm not dumb, but a lot of black people are. I see it every day. My grandpa was white, so I have more white in me than most blacks do, and I want my kids to be even whiter than me. If white men are so much better than blacks, Joseph asked, Why would a white man want his kids to be blacker by mixing with you? Do you even know what the difference between men and women is? Imani asked in an increasingly frustrated tone of voice as she split her attention between the map app on her phone and lecturing Joseph. Men are supposed to go out and conquer. Prove yourself. Make something of yourself. Women are the prize. Men ain't even supposed to care how good a woman is at anything but making him kids. I'm smart, I make good money as a nurse, but none of that matters to men because that's not the fucking point. You're supposed to want to conquer me. And yeah, there are white guys who are racist who want to conquer foreign women. That's what I want, so my kids can be better than me. Joseph doubted that there were actually that many racist white guys chasing after black women, but some parts of what she said felt like they were weirdly partly true. Hearing it from a black girl made it seem like she was sharing some primal truths of nature with him that had been hidden from him by the modern Western society that had taught him the exact opposite. He felt like he was caught between two worlds, the egalitarian leftism that had motivated him to end up in this situation in the first place, and the primal, tribal nature of the right that was pulling at him more than he ever expected it to, now that he was in a situation where he had to face it. The real-world conflict between Ezra's group and the far right, which had already morphed into something far more complicated than he expected, was merely a reflection of the spiritual conflict he was experiencing over his interest in Imani. "Why am I even having to explain this to you?" Imani asked. "You're the man. You should be the one laying down the law, but you're just sitting there not saying anything." "Sorry." Joseph sighed. "It's just that what you're saying goes against everything I was taught to believe. I'm not saying you're wrong. Maybe you have a point. I don't know. What I've gone through these past few weeks has given me a lot to think about. But let's say I do decide to go all in with the far right. Let's say I sell out Ezra and all the progressives on his team, and I tell the guys in Patriot Front and Proud Boys about them, and I become a racist and do all that for you. What happens if I go down that road, and at the end of it I decide I don't actually want you anymore because you're black?" "Then don't do it for me," Imani said. "Figure out the truth and lead. If you lead the right way, I'll follow, and if you decide you don't want me, some other woman will."